She thought she could just walk into my yard, unclip my dog's leash, and steal him in broad daylight, all while claiming the HOA gave her permission. She didn't expect the police to show up minutes later. It was supposed to be a peaceful Tuesday morning, the kind of day that makes you forget about everything. The sun was still low in the sky, casting a soft glow on the front yard. The grass, wet with dew, glittered like 1,000 tiny diamonds. Max, my golden retriever, the only companion I had left after losing my wife, was out there. His tail thumped softly against the porch, his favorite spot to sit as he watched the neighborhood wake up. But Linda didn't care about Max's comfort, his joy, or his well-being. She cared about control. She cared about rules. Her HOA rules. Linda, dressed in her usual red sweater, clipboard in hand, marched across the street. I could tell by the way she walked, determined, almost like she was on a mission. She didn't even look at me when she started scribbling on her notes, all while glaring at Max like he was some kind of villain. The yelling came next, sharp and accusatory. "Your dog is a disturbance. The HOA says he's a problem. He needs to be removed." I didn't react right away. I just stood there holding my coffee, trying to stay calm. Max, blissfully unaware of the drama unfolding, sniffed the post, wagging his tail. "Linda," I said slowly, "he's on my property, and he's not bothering anyone." She wasn't listening. "Your dog is constantly barking, and I've had enough," she snapped. "I've already filed reports. The HOA wants him gone." I could feel my blood start to boil. Linda had already complained several times before, but this was different. She wasn't just yelling now, she was making threats, serious ones. She was trying to remove Max from the one place he felt safe. "What's your problem, Linda?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "What do you want me to do? Control your dog?" She yelled back. "If you won't do it, the HOA will. It's their decision now." I glanced around, half expecting to see the neighbors peeking out from behind their curtains. Sure enough, some of them were. They knew what Linda was capable of. She was notorious for pushing HOA rules to the limit, and no one had dared stand up to her. Until now, I was done. Max trotted toward the backyard, the sound of his paws soft against the concrete, and I let out a deep breath. I didn't want to escalate things. I wanted to let it go, let her storm off, and hope she'd leave us in peace. But when I turned my back for just a moment, things took a turn I wasn't expecting. I heard it, a familiar whimper from Max, a scared, desperate sound. I rushed outside, and there she was again. Linda, but this time, she wasn't just standing there with her clipboard. She was holding Max's leash, pulling him toward her car, like he was hers to take. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, rushing toward them. Linda didn't flinch. She simply looked up at me, cold and calculating. "HOA gave me permission. I'm taking him." Max was pulling back, his eyes wide with confusion, but Linda wasn't letting go. He whimpered, his body tense, tail tucked. "Let him go, Linda. You can't just take my dog." The neighbors were gathering, whispering, some recording the scene on their phones. But Linda didn't care. Who doesn't beg for presents? Who doesn't barter with their own time and energy just to feel seen? That's when I made the call. I dialed 911, my hand shaking, my voice firm. It was time for Linda to face the consequences. And she was about to find out that messing with my dog was one mistake she wouldn't walk away from. The moment I dialed 911, Linda flinched just for a second. Her eyes, cold and sharp, flickered with something. Fear, maybe. Then she doubled down. "You're calling the police on me." Predictable. Max was whimpering, pulling against the leash she'd wrapped around her wrist, his eyes darting from me to her. tail tucked, body shaking. Neighbors stepped out, drawn by the noise. Phones came up, recording. Whispers rippled across the yards. Is she stealing his dog? That's Linda again. Call the cops too. I kept my voice steady, but inside I was boiling. Linda, let him go. She snapped her head toward me, face red, spit flying. You're the problem here. You think you're above the rules. The HOA said dogs that disturb the peace can be removed, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Max let out a low, scared bark, trying to slip away, but Linda held tight, dragging him toward her, SUV parked half on the curb. The leash pulled at his collar, making him cough. Linda, stop it, I yelled, stepping forward. She stepped back, clutching the leash tighter, nearly lifting Max off the ground. That's when the sirens came, that rolling whoop of a patrol car, piercing the air, making everything else go silent for a moment. Linda froze, her grip loosening just enough for Max to pull back and slip toward me. I caught him dropping to my knees, wrapping my arms around his trembling body. It's okay, buddy, it's okay. The patrol car pulled up, tires crunching against the curb. 2 officers stepped out, hands resting on their belts, scanning the scene. Neighbors stood on porches, recording, whispering. What's going on here? The first officer asked, calm but firm. Linda jumped in, finger pointing, voice shrill. He's refusing to follow HOA rules. His dog barks all day, and I have the right to remove him under HOA authority. I stood, Max pressed against my leg, his body still trembling, but his eyes on me, trusting me. Officer, she tried to steal my dog. She came onto my property, clipped his leash, and tried to drag him to her car. Linda's face twisted, her eyes wide. I was enforcing the rules. The HOA says, ma'am. The second officer interrupted. Do you have a court order or written authorization for this removal? Linda's mouth opened and closed. She looked around, expecting support, but the neighbors just stood there, silent, some shaking their heads. I have HOA complaints filed, she stammered. The officer sighed. Ma'am, HOA complaints are not the same as legal authority to seize someone's property, including their dog. You need to step back. For a second, I thought she would let go, that it was over, but Linda wasn't done. She stepped forward again, finger wagging, yelling, You people don't understand. I'm protecting this neighborhood. The second officer glanced at me, then at Max, then back at Linda. Ma'am, if you don't calm down, we're going to have to place you under arrest for trespassing and attempted theft. The word arrest hung in the air like a hammer about to fall. Neighbors gasped. Phones zoomed in. Max pressed closer to me, letting out a small, relieved sigh. And Linda's face went pale. Because it was in that moment she realized the HOA rules she hid behind weren't going to save her this time. And for the first time, she stepped back, her hand dropping to her side, the leash falling to the ground. Linda's face went pale, but her eyes still burned with that desperate Karen rage. You can't do this. I was protecting the HOA rules. She screamed, her voice cracking. Neighbors flinched at the sharpness in her tone, but no one stepped in. The officer calmly stepped forward, pulling a small black notebook from his pocket. Ma'am, you are trespassing on private property, and you attempted to seize this gentleman's dog without legal authority. Linda shook her head violently, tears welling up, mixing with the anger on her red, flushed face. You don't understand. This man, his dog barks all day. He's disturbing the community, the HOA. The second officer raised a hand. Ma'am, please place your hands behind your back. And that was it. A silence fell over the street as the officer gently turned Linda around, her hands shaking as the cold metal of the handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Max whimpered beside me, leaning against my leg. confused but sensing the tension breaking in the air. Linda tried to look back at me, eyes wide, tears finally streaming down her cheeks. "I was just trying to keep order," she sobbed. I felt a heaviness in my chest, but I stayed silent, hand on Max's head as he looked up at me, tail giving a cautious wag. Neighbors were still recording, but the street felt different now. The tension that had clung to the neighborhood because of Linda's self-appointed authority was starting to crumble. "Sir," the first officer said, turning to me, "you have every right to press charges if you wish." I looked at Linda, shaking, cuffed, her world falling apart, and I thought of every day she had harassed us, every complaint, every threat. "I just want her to leave us alone," I said quietly. The officer nodded. As they guided Linda toward the patrol car, she started yelling again, her voice hoarse and cracking. "The HOA will back me up, you'll see. You're the problem here, not me." The door shut, muffling her screams, and the car pulled away, taking with it the constant fear and control she had cast over the block. The street was silent for a moment, then, one by one, neighbors stepped closer. Mrs. Jenkins from 2 doors down, who never came outside, wiped her eyes. "We're sorry, Michael. We should have stood up to her sooner." A young father, holding his toddler, nodded. "You did the right thing." Max looked up at me, tail thumping, eyes warm and trusting. "It's okay now, buddy," I whispered, kneeling down to scratch behind his ears. "She's gone." Later that day, I received an email from the HOA president. Short, cold. "This office does not condone Linda's actions and will cooperate with authorities. No apology. No accountability, but it didn't matter anymore. Linda was gone, Max was safe, and for the first time in months, I felt like my home was truly mine again. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over, because there would always be another Linda, another HOA letter, another neighbor who thought rules were more important than people. And next time, I would be ready. The street felt different after Linda left, quieter, softer, like the tension had finally lifted, leaving only the hum of sprinklers and birds and the soft rustle of leaves. Neighbors started coming by, not out of fear, but to check in, to say thank you, to let Max sniff their hands and get a treat. Mrs. Jenkins brought cookies over, her hands trembling as she set them down. "You know, Michael, we were all too afraid to say anything. You did what we couldn't." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded, sharing a quiet moment with her before she left. Max was different too, more relaxed, tail wagging freely as he trotted around the yard, sniffing the fence line, looking back at me as if to say, "We did it, didn't we?" That evening, I sat on the porch, a cool breeze rustling the old wind, chimes my wife had hung up years ago. Max lay at my feet, sighing in his sleep, the tension gone from his body, and I realized something. Linda didn't just represent herself. She represented the fear that HOA rules could be twisted by people with power complexes, people who wanted control over others instead of community. I thought about pressing charges, about making an example out of her, but looking down at Max, the way he was finally resting easy, I knew we'd already won. The police report was filed. The HOA sent a weak, carefully worded letter distancing themselves from Linda, but they knew. Everyone knew her reign of intimidation was over. In the days that followed, small things changed. People waved more. They lingered longer during walks, letting their dogs sniff Max through the fence, smiling at me. We weren't afraid anymore. One morning, as the sun rose and painted the world gold, Max and I went for a walk by the lake Linda used to patrol like a guard dog herself. I let him off the leash just for a moment, watching him run, ears flopping, tongue out, free. "Go on, boy, be free." I realized then, this wasn't just about Linda. It was about all of us, standing up for what's right, not letting fear dictate our lives, protecting what matters: a family, home, community. If you're watching this, I want you to know, it's okay to stand up. It's okay to say no when someone tries to take what's yours under the disguise of rules. It's okay to protect your family, even if it's just you and your dog. If you've ever faced a neighbor like Linda, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that believes in protecting what's right, standing up for each other, and sharing stories that matter. Because the next time someone tries to steal what you love most, you'll be ready too. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay strong, and hug your dog today.